All right, happy December 15th, the unofficial start of the trade season. So I figured we'd do a little bit of a video, talk about December 15th, kind of the ramifications. Also have a couple articles that I'm going to talk about. Hopefully everyone's doing well. So December 15th, I sent my group of writers some information this morning, kind of just a little bit, some tidbits I call. And I'll share the email that I sent them. And so what's the impact on December 15th? That is the date when most free agents that signed in the offseason are now trade eligible. There are still roughly 71 players that cannot be traded, whether they are players like Jared Allen, trust me, Cleveland, he's not getting traded, who signed a contract in the offseason for 120% of his prior contract in Cleveland. He can't be traded to January 15th. There's players like Terry Rozier, who has an extension restriction at the end of January. Same with Julius Randle. The players that sign rookie extension, we call them a poison pill. Basically, Michael Porter Jr. has got a restriction there. So there's roughly 71 of those players that cannot get traded. So the question is, are the floodgates going to open? And I don't want to pour cold water on December 15th, but the last time there was a trade on December 15th was in 2010. And you know who did that? This guy. Sasha Vujacic. I don't want Zach Lowe to crucify me as far as the pronunciation. We acquired him when I was in the New Jersey front office. We traded Terrence Williams to Houston. We traded Joe Smith to the Lakers. And we got 2 first-round picks back. Crazy, right? 2 first-round picks for Terrence Williams. And the cardinal rule regarding Terrence, who was ridiculously talented, a little bit like Kevin Porter Jr., just a guy that can kind of do a lot of different things, can play him at point forward here, was what I learned from Terrence was don't trust the head coach of his college team when you're getting a background report. And I'm not going to say who the head coach was. I think you can all figure out who the head coach at Louisville was back then. But we were basically sold a bill of goods regarding Terrence, and certainly had some off-court issues, and just didn't work out. And we parlayed him into 2 first-round picks that I think we eventually traded. Well, of course. But that was the last time a trade happened on December 15th. And I think December 15th is important just because it just opens up the field, right? 85% of the players can be traded. But trades are tricky. A lot of it's based on relationships. A lot of it's based on we'll get back to you when it's closer to the trade deadline. I always give the story when I was in Brooklyn. And it was the 2013-14 season. We needed some shooting off our bench, and I had called Pete D'Alessandro, who was in Sacramento at the time, and it wasn't regarding trade. It was really just kind of to catch up. And we just talked, and they were headed towards the lottery. We needed a shooter, and we had Reggie Evans and Jason Terry. They had Marcus Thornton, and the money worked. And I'll get back to you, and let me check with my ownership group. And by the next morning, we had a deal agreed upon. It's another funny story regarding that is that Jeff Bauer, former Pistons, Suns, GM, was coaching at Marist College at the time, my alma mater, and he had Marcus in, I believe it was New Orleans, and Jeff really kind of gave his blessings as far as from a background standpoint here, and that's how the trade came about, where when I was in New Jersey, Dwight Howard took forever. We never made that trade, but that was a 6-month ordeal. Carmelo Anthony was a 6-month ordeal, where sometimes those trades that get reported and get dragged out usually never come to fruition. So I think what every team is doing is just kind of continue to evaluate their roster. Certainly there are probably a lot more buyers than sellers right now. We have only seen 15 trades since 2010 in the month of December. I'm not counting last year because the trade deadline was in March, and I'm not counting the strike shortened season of 2011-12, but 15 trades since 2010 in the month of December. We haven't seen a trade this year. Last trade was October 6th. Brooklyn made the two different trades with Indiana, Edmund Sumner, and for a second round pick, salary dump for Indiana, and then they wound up trading Sekou Doumbouya to Houston in a salary dump. They had to trade a second round pick. That is the last time we saw a trade. So the G League Classic is coming up here in Las Vegas, December 19th to 22nd, and that's really kind of where a lot of the negotiations, a lot of the talks kind of start picking up there, where all the executives are kind of in one located place in Las Vegas, and I will be heading out there on Sunday here. So that is a little bit about December 15th. I don't expect all of a sudden Ben Simmons to get traded on December 15th here. I think if anything, that's probably closer to February 10th. Two articles that are up on ESPN.com. I have a 7,000 word document. Don't freak out. Where it is, we've done this every year. We call it a roster breakdown. We take all 30 teams. This is not the mega trade guide. We take all 30 teams, and it's the Cliff Notes version. What every front office should be asking themselves. Who are the value contracts? Who are the controllable contracts? Most likely rookies. Long-term contracts. Who's got draft assets? The finances we look at. It's a kind of a Cliff Notes version of the big trade guide, but we take a deep dive into every team out there. And I see Woj is tweeting. It popped up there, and I couldn't read that sideways. I don't think it was a trade. But we've got that document up on ESPN.com. Every team, what each front office should be asking themselves when we get closer to the trade deadline in February. Basically, all contract information, controllable contracts, value contracts. We go through nuts and bolts on each team. We have the article that went out a couple weeks ago on who can and can't be traded. That has been updated. It shows you the 71 players that can't be traded. We've broken them down into players that are expiring, players got 2+ years left, and of course that restriction list of 71 players here. So that is it. I am in my office. As you can see, I've got my mentor Willis Reed behind my shoulder. All the cities I visited as far as sporting events. Darrelle Revis, my favorite, along with Tony Dorsett, my favorite NFL player here, and this is where we do everything in this office here. And one thing I want to show you here is that, so I keep a folder on all 30 teams, and basically what I do is either when I'm watching games or when the next morning, I'm not going to be able to watch 14 games or 13 games. The next morning, if I'm watching tape on it, I'll just keep notes. So like this is Washington. So basically, it's just notes and notes as far as from that game. And when I'm writing my trade guide or when I'm writing my off-season articles, I can go back to the folder and kind of just look back on that. And we've got the big trade guide. Back in mid-January, that's going to start coming out. I started working on it today. Usually it comes out to about 15,000 words. It's like the Bible heading into the trade deadline season. So I hope everyone has a great December 15th. Enjoy yourself, and we will do a video soon.